Hey, yeah. A number of years ago, a creationist told me that Lord Kelvin had proven that the Earth was less than 4.5 billion years old. I asked him when Kelvin made this prediction. He couldn't tell me. He didn't know. He didn't know. So I looked it up. Lord Kelvin presented his calculations in the 1880s. And his calculation was that the Earth was 100 million years old, plus or minus 10 million. So between 110 million and 90 million years old. 100 million right in the middle there. And Lord Kelvin based this on the assumption that the Earth was not creating any new heat. There was no new heat being produced. It was a steady progression of cooling, a linear progression. He didn't know about radioactivity. And he said this in the 1880s, so more than 135 years ago. Now, of course, since then, we've discovered radioactivity. And since then, we've discovered that the Earth is much older. In fact, at the time that Kelvin made his calculations, people were placing the Earth at anywhere between 50 million and 100 million years old, more or less. And he worked it down to 100 million, plus or minus 10 million either way. Nobody had yet come up with the 4.5 million year old age, because nobody at the time knew about radioactivity. Nobody knew about it. So the creationist was being, as creationists are, dishonest. He was lying. By telling the truth in a deceptive way, he was lying. He was deliberately being misleading. But that's what creationists do. They mislead. By claiming that a 130-year-old calculation was the latest scientific discovery, and presenting it as such, he was trying to trick me, which is what creationists do. It's what they have. They have trickery, they have deception, they have deceit. They don't have facts, because the only facts they have are outdated and long since refuted. Science is not an ancient book of answers. The scientific knowledge that we had 100 years ago is generally not valid today. It has generally been upgraded and changed to reflect newer discoveries that have been made over the last 100 years. But creationists don't get this. For a creationist, the science of 100 years ago is still the latest cutting-edge science. And any newer discoveries are, quote, evolutionism. What's evolutionism? Well, it's basically any scientific fact that refutes creationism. And interestingly enough, yes, Lord Kelvin's calculations were evolutionism, because they also refuted the popular young Earth creationist claim of an Earth less than 10,000 years old. Because Kelvin calculated the Earth's age at 100 million years old. 100 million. He didn't calculate it at 10,000 years or less. He calculated at 100 million, at a time when people had pretty much were debating whether it was somewhere between 50 million and 100 million. But couldn't be much older. And of course, Kelvin showed that it was 100 million years old, based on a linear cooling. And then Rutherford and Curie discovered radioactivity. And from there, we were able to work out that it was not a linear cooling. It was a woven line. Because every time that a little heat dissipated, new heat was being created by radioactive decay in the Earth's core. New heat is being created. And that's how we are able to determine that the age of the Earth is much older than 100 million years old. Radiometric decay, our understanding of radiation and how radioactivity works, allows us to calculate the age of the Earth at approximately 4.5 billion years old. This is not a guess. This is using the latest cutting-edge science, which leaves Lord Kelvin behind completely. Lord Kelvin is 130 years ago. This is the 21st century, not the 19th. Creationists need to get with the program. The Earth is 14.5 billion years old. This has been measured, calculated using precise measurements of radioactivity. Radiometric dating works. It works well enough that it's admissible in courtrooms, it's admissible everywhere, including by creationists themselves who wholeheartedly support it when it supports them. But as soon as it challenges them, it's unreliable. Make up your mind, creationists. What's it going to be? Is radiometric dating accurate or is it inaccurate? The evidence is out there. All you need to do is look. The Earth is 4.5 billion years old. Thank you. And have a nice day.